Viewer discretion is advised. This video discusses topics that some viewers may find disturbing. If you're depressed, having thoughts of suicide, or self-harming, know there is help and you're not alone. Reach out to someone you trust or find a local hotline by visiting www.findahelpline.com. The following video presents my personal experiences with New River Valley Community Services in Southwest Virginia and is supported by official documents, medical records, and videos. This video is intended to promote accountability and transparency in public mental health services. It reflects my personal experiences and is not intended to harass, target, or defame any individual or organization. Some information has been redacted to protect the privacy of the individuals involved. On November 14, 2025, I filed a formal complaint through the proper channels. Greetings. I'm Ani, and I would like to tell you about my experiences with a community service board here in Southwest Virginia called New River Valley Community Services, or NRVCS. What is a community service board? According to the Virginia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services, community service boards provide mental health services, case management, and substance abuse support for individuals in their communities. They're publicly funded organizations that are supposed to help people in crisis. I began services with NRVCS in 2021 while trying to manage mental health issues stemming from a motorcycle accident in 2011 and chronic malnutrition from Crohn's disease starting in 2014. My services ended abruptly in November of 2024 after I requested a new case manager and my request for text-based communications was ignored. In October of 2023 and again in August of 2025, I submitted complaints by email to NRVCS. Instead of responding to my complaints appropriately, they petitioned for emergency custody orders and temporary detention orders, ECOs and TDOs, on the same day that I sent those emails. What are ECOs and TDOs? These are court orders that allow police to take someone from their home and hold them in a psychiatric facility against their will for evaluation. These court orders are requested by licensed professionals through the use of Form DC 4001. The petition for involuntary admission for treatment. Form DC 4001 is signed by the petitioner, stating that the respondent is unwilling to volunteer or incapable of volunteering for treatment, is in need of hospitalization or treatment, and that there exists a substantial likelihood that as a result of mental illness, the respondent will, in the near future, cause serious physical harm to themselves or others. They're meant to be used in true emergencies when someone is in an immediate danger to themselves or others due to a mental illness. In this video, I'm going to show you evidence that New River Valley Community Services has a pattern of dismissing complaints, ignoring evidence, and petitioning for unnecessary ECOs and TDOs. I've been detained at the request of NRVCS staff twice. Both times I was medically cleared and released. Both times I can prove that I should have never been detained in the first place. Let me show you what happened. In 2023, I was receiving services from NRVCS. I had a case manager and a psychiatrist. I also had a live-in caregiver through my insurance who was supposed to help me with daily tasks because of my disabilities. But the caregiver was problematic. She regularly refused to do her job. She was emotionally abusive and manipulative. On October 10th of 2023, I requested additional services through my case manager, but they couldn't offer any. So I sent an email to his supervisor at NRVCS. In the email, I complained about my case manager, asked for more service options, and said I might cancel my services if nothing could be done. I never received a response to that email. That same day, while I was taking a nap with my cats, my caregiver called my case manager, claiming that I was worse off than she had ever seen me. My case manager, who I spoke with just hours earlier, told her that he didn't feel an ECO was required. 15 minutes later, my caregiver called 988, the National Mental Health Crisis Hotline, claiming that I was actively suicidal. I had my bedroom door shut, and she didn't like that. An NRVCS crisis response team arrived at my home shortly after. 2 clinicians entered my bedroom while I was taking a nap, woke me up, and assessed me by judging how I chose to live at that time. On October 10th of 2023, NRVCS staff claimed that I wasn't willing or capable of volunteering for treatment, was actively suicidal, hadn't bathed in weeks, and was trying to kill myself by not eating. Based on those claims, I was put in handcuffs by law enforcement and taken from my home against my will to New Horizons, an NRVCS affiliated facility. I didn't arrive home until October 18th, 8 days later. So that's what happened in 2023. That's what they claimed. Now let me show you the evidence that proves those claims were false. Claim number 1, the claim that I wasn't willing or capable of volunteering for treatment. I sent an email with a complaint about my case manager to their supervisor and requested additional services just hours before the TDO. My records show that I was requesting alternative therapeutic options from my case manager just hours before the TDO. And the Mobile Crisis ECO supplemental information proves that NRVCS staff were aware that I was requesting other options through my case manager. Claim number 2, their claim that I was actively suicidal. My case manager told my caregiver that he didn't believe an intervention was necessary 15 minutes before they called 988. The Mobile Crisis ECO supplemental information includes reports from a clinician stating that it didn't seem like I would harm myself if I went home. Claim number 3, their claim that I hadn't bathed in weeks. Around this time, I was attending physical therapy 2 to 3 times a week. I would shower before every physical therapy session. Before October 10th, my records from the physical therapist described me as a pleasant gentleman, motivated, and requiring minimal cueing. If I wasn't bathing, as NRVCS claimed, the physical therapist wouldn't have worked with me, let alone describe me as pleasant. Claim number 4, their claim that I was trying to kill myself by not eating. In the days leading up to October 10th, my caregiver went out of town and someone else was bringing me food. Screenshots of Discord messages with my caregiver prove that I was requesting and craving food. So let's review. They claimed I hadn't bathed in weeks, but my physical therapy records suggest that I was showering regularly. They claimed that I was trying to kill myself by not eating, but my messages show that I was requesting food. They claimed I was actively suicidal and unwilling to seek treatment. My records and emails show that I was actively requesting more therapeutic options that same morning. Their claims were false. The evidence proves it. But here's what really matters. What happened after they detained me? Did 8 days in a psychiatric facility help me? No. After I was released on October 18th, my physical therapy records tell a different story. Symptoms of increased depression. Very stressed, extremely fatigued, appears more pale, losing weight. Before the detention, I was doing well and improving. After the detention, I was declining. My depression increased and my physical health worsened. The detention didn't help me, it harmed me. And the evidence proves that too. And it all happened after I sent a complaint email asking for more services. An email that was never answered, but instead was referenced by NRVCS staff as a request to cancel services. Fast forward to 2025. I was no longer receiving services from NRVCS. After what happened in 2023, and after they ignored my request for a new case manager in 2024, I had learned to manage on my own. Things were actually going pretty well. Then, at the beginning of June, new neighbors moved into the apartment upstairs. From day one, there were problems. I reported multiple issues to the landlord repeatedly, but he wasn't helping. After about a month, I recognized one of the new neighbors. Let's call her Wolverine. Wolverine had been my mental health skill builder in 2022. What's a mental health skill builder? Mental health skill builders are healthcare providers that meet with you in your home regularly to assist in building coping skills and developing mechanisms for independent living. They know a lot about their clients. When I terminated her services in 2022, she had called for a wellness check on me. What's a wellness check? Wellness checks are in-person visits by law enforcement to check on individuals if there's been a loss of communication or if there's a concern for their safety. These requests are anonymous, and law enforcement doesn't have to tell you who made the request. So in 2025, I didn't want to approach her directly. I didn't want a conflict, and I didn't want another wellness check. I wanted to find a peaceful, anonymous way to let her know that she moved in above a former client, and that their nuisance behaviors needed to stop. That's when I remembered that Wolverine talked about volunteering at the 401 Peer Center. The 401 Peer Center is a peer support program for people recovering from mental health and substance abuse issues. It's also an NRVCS affiliated facility. As someone recovering from mental health issues, I believed that email in the 401 Peer Center would be safe, and I would be communicating with peers that would understand the situation and my circumstances. On June 29th, I sent an email to the publicly listed email on the 401 Peer Center's website at the time. The nuisance noises not only continued, but they escalated. The behavior from my upstairs neighbors noticeably got worse. Over the next several weeks, I sent more emails to the 401 Peer Center describing what was happening and submitting complaints to NRVCS. Not one replied to my emails. Instead, on July 8th, I received 2 phone calls, one from a private number and another from an NRVCS phone number. I wasn't able to answer these calls, and they didn't leave any voicemail messages. I had no idea who was calling or why. Then, on July 9th, something happened. There was a knock on the front door to my apartment. When I opened my door, I found 2 deputies standing outside. They explained that they received a phone call requesting a wellness check. The police assessed me. They found I was fine and there was no intervention needed. But during the wellness check, they discovered an outstanding warrant for my arrest. The warrant was from that same abusive former caregiver from 2023, the one who called 988. They had made false claims to the police in 2024, and the police believed them. These charges were dropped after the arrest in 2025 when they couldn't present any evidence. This was the first time in my life I had ever been arrested. It was the second time I had been put in handcuffs because a caregiver lied and because NRVCS failed to help me report their abuse. Instead of helping me, NRVCS became the organization responsible for the arrest. But it gets worse. After that wellness check, the behavior from my upstairs neighbors became even more concerning. Days after the wellness check, Wolverine was recorded by my Ring doorbell, slowly posing and smiling at the camera as she walked down the stairs. It looked like she was satisfied with something. The noise issues escalated. The neighbors started regularly stomping up the stairway outside of my apartment, stomping throughout their apartment, slamming objects on their floor, and creating other nuisance noises. On August 3rd, a persistent tapping noise became noticeable in my bedroom. It would occur every 10 to 30 seconds and prevented me from sleeping. I did my best to record the tapping noises and report them to the landlord on August 5th. With my report to the landlord, I also requested that they strongly consider evicting the tenants after 2 months of regular nuisance noises that violated the rules in their lease. As I had not received a reply to my emails addressed to the 401 Peer Center, and my neighbor's behavior had changed after the wellness check, I had reasons to believe that the man living upstairs was receiving my emails. In my email to the landlord, I also included accusations that my upstairs neighbor was the recipient of my emails to the 401 Peer Center and used my records to harass me. I included these accusations to give the landlord context to the additional evidence I provided, like Wolverine looking satisfied after the wellness check. The landlord shared my email with the upstairs neighbor, and things became really concerning when I received their response on August 9th. In their reply from my upstairs neighbor, they claimed that they had no affiliation with NRVCS. But then they wrote something that caught my attention. NRVCS only contacted him in the first place because they received a slew of emails from the downstairs tenant that were strange and concerning enough in nature that they thought it required police intervention. For someone claiming to have no affiliation with NRVCS, they made a lot of claims with confidence, and my landlord believed every word of it. The concerning nature of my neighbor knowing about my private emails to the 401 Peer Center prompted not only another email to the Peer Center's program director, but a meeting with my attorney. Following legal advice, I purchased a decibel meter and directional clip-on microphones. With these tools, I was hoping that I could properly document these noises to eventually prevent them. On August 18th, I sent an email addressed to the program director of the 401 Peer Center. In this email, I admitted that emailing the 401 Peer Center was a mistake, provided videos to support my statements about my neighbors, and asked for accountability with an explanation as to why my upstairs neighbor knew about my emails to a peer center. Instead of receiving a response, I was disturbed by another knock on the front door to my apartment. This time, it was law enforcement handing me paperwork and telling me that I had to go with them. NRVCS had petitioned for an emergency custody order. Once again, I was taken from my home against my will at the request of NRVCS staff. This time, I was taken to the Crisis Intake Unit, or CIT, which was yet another NRVCS affiliated organization. While at the CIT, I met with an NRVCS director, the same one who had ordered the wellness check on July 9th. She told me that the 401 Peer Center's program director had forwarded my emails to her. She claimed that he no longer held that position, and he didn't know what to do with my emails. She claimed that my neighbors knew nothing about my emails. But then, she admitted that she had told Wolverine around the time of the July 9th wellness check that she should be concerned for her safety. They completely dismissed my emails and complaints while making up their own narrative. After meeting with the NRVCS director, a clinician reviewed 2 videos that I had recorded. One video showed how the tapping noises increased in activity when the upstairs neighbor arrived home from work. The other video documented a decibel meter monitoring the tapping noises occurring in my bedroom twice a day for 10 minutes each time. In the video with the neighbor arriving home, you can hear and clearly see the tapping noises from the video's audio track. In the video with the decibel meter, you can clearly see a passive baseline of 30 decibels when the apartment is quiet, an active reading of 35 decibels during the tapping event, and spikes reaching 40 decibels and above with each tap. This is objective, measurable evidence. A decibel meter doesn't lie. If a noise is there, the meter registers it. If it's not there, it doesn't. It was indisputable. When the clinician finished reviewing the videos, after only 10 minutes, they claimed that they couldn't hear the tapping noises and didn't know what they were looking at when reviewing the video of the decibel meter. From this, they declared that I was delusional and paranoid. While all of this was going on, my attorney called me in response to a text message that I sent while I was taken from my home. My attorney asked me to put the clinician on the phone. The clinician took my phone, went into their office, and returned a few minutes later saying, "The phone isn't working," and then instructing a nearby deputy to, quote, "take him away." It wasn't until later that I realized that the clinician had lowered the volume on my phone to mute my attorney. They took me away and made me wait in an emergency room for 12 hours where I was handcuffed to a hospital bed. This was the 3rd time I had ever been handcuffed in my life, and every time, NRVCS was involved. I was then sent to a hospital an hour and a half away in a vehicle without seat cushions, where they couldn't provide for my specialized Crohn's diet or manage my chronic pain from spinal injuries. On August 18th of 2025, NRVCS staff claimed I wasn't willing or capable of volunteering for treatment. I might cause serious physical harm to others. I might suffer serious harm due to a lack of capacity to protect myself from harm or care for my basic human needs. I sent emails appearing delusional in nature on August 18th. I continued to fixate on things that the intended recipient of my emails had done to me. I was experiencing paranoia and delusions that were escalating. There weren't tapping noises in the videos. I was paranoid and I was delusional. Over the course of 50 hours, I barely ate, mostly consuming orange juice and apple juice. I slept maybe 2 hours total. I was separated from my 2 14-year-old cats who depend entirely on me for food, water, and care. There was no one else to care for them. On August 20th, I was discharged by a special justice after I was found to not meet the criteria for commitment. I never should have been held in the first place. When I arrived home, my cats' food bowls were empty, their water fountain was nearly dry, and their litter box was overflowing. My upstairs neighbor later confirmed, in a text message, that the tapping noises was from his cat's slow feeder, a real, physical object making real, measurable noises. I wasn't delusional, and I wasn't paranoid. So that's what happened in 2025. That's what they claimed. Now let me show you the evidence that proves those claims were false. Claim number 1. Their claim that I wasn't willing or capable of volunteering for treatment. I was capable of volunteering for treatment, but treatment wasn't necessary. Claim number 2. Their claim that I could cause serious physical harm to others. Nothing about my emails or history suggested violence or harm to others. In fact, my email stated, Wolverine wasn't the problem. You would be complaining too. By emailing you, I believed that I could anonymously and peacefully resolve the issues I was having with them without exposing my identity, particularly to Wolverine's partner. It was my hope that Wolverine would suddenly correct their partner's behavior that violated the rules set forth in the lease, without revealing our past professional relationship. Claim number 3. Their claim that I could suffer serious harm due to a lack of capacity to protect myself from harm or to provide for my own basic human needs. Nothing in my emails indicated that I lacked the capacity to protect myself from harm, and nothing in my emails indicated that I lacked the capacity to provide for my own basic human needs. Claim number 4. Their claim that my email on August 18th appeared delusional in nature. My email on August 18th inquired about the situation and circumstances of my neighbor knowing about my private emails to the 401 Peer Center. Claim number 5. Their claim that I continue to fixate on things that the email recipient had done to me. My email on August 18th inquired about the situation and circumstances of my neighbor knowing about my private emails to the 401 Peer Center. Claim number 6. Their claim that I was experiencing paranoia and delusions that seemed to be escalating. There was no paranoia or delusions. My emails on August 18th inquired about the situation and circumstances of my neighbor knowing about my private emails to the 401 Peer Center. Claim number 7. Their claim that there weren't tapping noises in the videos. My attorney had previously reviewed one of the videos, and they could hear the tapping noises. Security professionals who monitored me during the 12 hours in the emergency room heard the tapping noises and could read the decibel meter. You can hear and see the tapping noises in this video when my neighbor arrives home. You can hear and see the tapping noises from this video with the decibel meter. Both of these videos were reviewed by NRVCS's CIT. Claim number 8. Their claim that I was paranoid. My neighbor had revealed that he had knowledge of my emails to the 401 Peer Center. My email on August 18th inquired about the situation and circumstances of my neighbor knowing about my private emails to the 401 Peer Center. Claim number 9. Their claim that I was delusional. My neighbor revealed that he had knowledge of my emails to the 401 Peer Center, and I inquired as to why. So let's review what actually happened in 2025. I sent emails to a peer support center asking for help. I received 0 responses. My private emails to a peer support center were forwarded to an NRVCS director who ordered a wellness check, resulting in my arrest. When I sent another email asking for accountability, that same director ordered an ECO and a TDO. I provided objective evidence, videos with a decibel meter. The clinician claimed that she couldn't understand it and diagnosed me with psychosis. I was detained for 50 hours. Independent medical professionals found no delusions, no paranoia, only linear and logical thoughts. A special justice released me after a hearing since I didn't meet the criteria for commitment. Most of their claims were proven false, and the evidence shows it. These events in 2023 and 2025 show a pattern from NRVCF and its staff dismissing and retaliating to complaints submitted by email, dismissing records and evidence during assessments, petitioning for unnecessary ECOs and TDOs, and misdiagnosing patients. Let's go through each pattern individually. First, dismissing and retaliating to complaints submitted by email. In 2023 and 2025, I submitted complaints by email, and instead of receiving a professional reply, I was taken from my home against my will on the same day that I sent those emails. Second, dismissing records and evidence during assessments. In 2023, NRVCS staff dismissed records showing that I was requesting additional services, aka volunteering for services. In 2025, NRVCS staff dismissed video evidence of a decibel meter, proving the nuisance noises from my neighbors. Third, petitioning for unnecessary ECOs and TDOs. In 2023 and 2025, NRVCS staff submitted petitions for involuntary admission for treatment, Both times, I did not meet the criteria marked on the forms. Finally, misdiagnosing patients. In 2023, I was misdiagnosed as suicidal while taking a nap despite the records showing activity earlier that day, and my physical therapy records showing improvements leading up to the TDO. In 2025, I was misdiagnosed with psychosis by an assessing clinician who couldn't understand or wouldn't understand an objective decibel meter. These are the actions from a publicly funded organization, funded by taxpayer dollars, that is supposed to be helping vulnerable people in crisis. The community deserves better than this. So that's been my experience with New River Valley Community Services. On November 14th of 2025, I submitted a 62-page official complaint to the NRVCS Human Rights Advocate and the Human Rights Advocate for the Commonwealth of Virginia. The complaint included 100 pages of evidence to support the claims within. In response to my official complaint, NRVCS has dismissed my complaint, claimed that I wasn't in active licensed services, and claimed that they weren't responsible for the petitions for involuntary admission for treatment signed by their staff in 2023 and 2025. They didn't dispute the facts, they just avoided them. This isn't just about me. This is about accountability. When you email a peer center for support, or a community service board with complaints, you shouldn't be at risk of being detained. When you have evidence, it should matter, especially when the courts are involved. This has happened to me twice now. This isn't a coincidence. This is a pattern. If they can do this to me, they can do this to anyone. If you or someone you know has been through a similar experience, whether with NRVCS or another community service board, document everything, request your records, all of them, review your records in detail, all of them, file formal complaints, and seek legal counsel if necessary. And whether you've been affected by something like this or not, you can also write your local governor and other representatives asking for accountability and changes to the systems that allow this type of misconduct to happen. It's going to be exhausting, but necessary. Just remember to pace yourself and ask for help from people you trust when you need it. I'm sharing my experiences because transparency is the only way to create change. The evidence I've shown you today is real. The pattern is clear. I'm not saying that all community service boards or all NRVCS staff behave this way, but my experiences reveal a system vulnerable to misuse, miscommunication, and retaliation. I hope this video can give others the strength and courage to come forward with their own stories. Please consider sharing this video with your friends and loved ones who might be at risk or may have a similar story.